You're watching Flip TV News. I am Akpabio. Here are the headlines. Hunger is a real issue in Nigeria, says Peter Obi. Local government demolish shanties, illegal structures on Lagos-Ibadan Road. Reactions as Sanwoolu set to renovate church for 531 million naira. Amid disputes, Kano residents show solidarity for governor. Tension at plenary as Nwoye challenges Senator Akpabio. Now the news in details. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has opined that the real issue of Nigeria is hunger. Speaking at the Obedient Office in Abuja whilst he received a delegation of IPAC, the former Anambra governor stated that Nigeria is on the verge of collapsing.
I'm participating in that direction, so it's a welcome development. And I believe that it's helped in the past, because if you look at those who fought for our independence and everything, they were in different political party formations and was able to show that first democratic process in Nigeria, which is what we are all clamoring that we need to go back to now, where we have very enterprising, progressive regional governments thriving very well.
Thank you, sir. So, as a critical stakeholder, what is your advice to the Interparty Advisory Council IPAC to ensure democracy growth in Nigeria?
Well, as it is today, my advice is that the parties come together and work for the people. You could see today there's a gradual erosion of the tenets of democracy. Our political compass is heading in the wrong direction. So there's a need for the parties to come together to be able to rescue the situation as it is today.
In other news, the Oyo State government has begun the demolition of shanties and makeshift structures in Kara along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway on Tuesday. According to the task force, the shanties and illegal structures disfigure the corridor and are considered to be hideouts for criminals in the area. The operation, which was led by the Senior Special Assistant to the State Governor on Environment, Honorable Farouk Akintunde, said the exercise was to position the state as industrial hub of Nigeria. Though there was mild opposition as some protesters were seen with sticks, the heavy presence of security agencies such as the State Police and operatives of the Oyo State Community Social Orientation and Safety Corps helped prevent any breakout of violence. Meanwhile, amid the allegation of financial recklessness against Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's administration, the Lagos State government is out to defend the controversial expenses observed on the state's procurement portal. In his recent open letter to Sanwoolu, the governorship candidate of the Action Democratic Congress in the 2023 election in Lagos, Funsho Dahati, raised questions over the outrageous amount awarded for projects by the state government. One of the controversial expenses stated on the portal is the release of 531 million naira for the renovation of St. Andrew's Anglican Church in Okepopo area of the state. In his letter, Doherty wondered why the LASG would spend 531 million naira of taxpayers' money to renovate a church. Doherty raised questions on many other projects, including the approval of 24.5 million naira for the renovation of the official residence of the Lagos Commissioner of Police. In response to his question on the renovation of the church, the Lagos State government, in a statement signed by the Director General Lagos State Procurement Agency, Fatai Onofowote, justified the amount, saying the church is a historical landmark in the state. The government explained that the 531 million naira allocated for the church is not only meant for renovation, but also includes compensation for the demolition of sections of the church. The church was founded in 1889 and stands as a significant historical landmark in Lagos State. The need for the state to preserve such landmark can therefore not be overemphasized. The contract amount encompasses funds allocated for both the refurbishment of the church and compensations given to the church for the necessary demolition of sections of its property due to road expansion. The state government also defended and justified its reason for buying 440 million naira SUV for the office of the Chief of Staff to Governor Sanwoolu, saying the amount is in tandem with the country's economic realities.
The consultancy fees, for instance, I think it's AEC is one of the companies you mentioned. There are a lot of other consultancy fees there to the tune of billions. The bulletproof Lexus for 470 million, the governor's BMW motorcycle convoys, 14 of them, 36 million, a swimming pool for the deputy governor in his residence for 10 million. What would you want to hear from the Lagos State government as far as, because I know your notes specifically said more transparency, more details, some of them should be, as we see all these figures, what do you want to hear from the state? Because we've extended an invitation for them to respond. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I think for me, and it's not just about me, I think, they need to explain to the people, when you see the comments, it's not as if we manufactured any information or what. This is just basic data that we put out. And when you look at the reaction of the people, I mean, any responsible government will know that it has touched a nerve and needs to respond to the people. And where there's need for explanation, where there's need for justification. But more importantly, I think a couple of things. One is that there should be improvements in all, and it should be a continuous improvement exercise anyway, but there should be improvements in the procurement process. One of the points which I made, and you alluded to the fact that I had written on procurement before. I wrote on that pursuant to a letter which I had written at the time of the mass burial.
Yes.
And I said that in that letter that was leaked revealed certain things about the procurement process. And I wrote a follow-up letter to say that the procurement agency gets an admin fee on each of the procurements, and that was a conflict of interest and would affect their independence and their objectivity. I think there's some evidence of that in some of what we are seeing. So I think that it's important that these structural things which create incentives for people not to do the right thing are removed, right? And ultimately, what I expect the government to do is to make the right decisions, judicious use of public funds, always in the public interest, and to govern in the interest of the people. And in the long run, the fruits of those actions will be revealed in the lives of the people.
Moving on, in a remarkable show of solidarity, residents of Kano State have swarmed the streets to express unwavering support for the ousted governor, Akpabio. A viral video captured a fervent crowd accompanying a coastal bus believed to be carrying the former governor as it arrived at the accident and emergency section of the Murtala Mohammed Specialist Hospital, chanting "Abba, Abba, Abba." Passionately, the crowd energetically waved and cheered, exhibiting their staunch backing for Kabir amidst recent political upheaval. The governor, who was in the company of his deputy, Comrade Aminu Abdulsalam Wazo, and other government officials, acknowledged greetings from traders at the Kantim Quarry Market who abandoned their businesses to show solidarity to the governor. Finally, on the news, the Senate was thrown into a rowdy session when Nwoye of the Labour Party repeatedly yelled at the Senate President, Akpabio, following the latter's announcement of new minority leaders in the Red Chamber. During the Senate's plenary on Tuesday, November 21, 2023, Akpabio announced two members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Abamoro Ositangwo, as the new minority leader and minority whip, respectively. Moro represents Benue South, while Ngwu represents the people of Enugu West. The two were announced as replacements for former minority leader Simon Nwankwo and former minority whip Darlington Wokocha, both of whom were recently sacked by the court.
We are slaves. The way you are elected was the way you were elected. And we are slaves. How else you can suspend me here? And we are slaves. Every time you keep on picking leadership for us. We are not your slaves. Whether you like it or not, the way you are elected was the way we are elected. We are not your slaves. The way you are elected was the way we are elected. How else you can suspend me? me. You have done your worst, Mr. President. What do you mean by that? You have done your worst. You have done your worst. You have put us to the wall. Thank you. Yes, we'll start with that. Meaning what? Meaning what? Meaning what? Meaning what? It's unfair. It's unfair. It's not about me, it's not about any person. It's about the institution of Senate. Thank you, sir.
Reacting to the emergence of Nwoye and Nwoye as the Senate's new minority leaders, Nwoye accused Akpabio of imposing leaders of the minority caucus. Nwoye, who was visibly angry about the development, yelled at Akpabio and dared him to suspend him, saying the Senate president had already pushed the minority members to the wall. And that's it on the news. For more updates, kindly subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Oyo State reporting for Flip TV.